What's going on, guys? It's your boy Az, back here with another one. Now today we're going to be taking a look at some of the counters that I have been using against the infamous Emma Marauder teams. And everyone has been running with the Deftrons, the Aimtrons, and basically any team with Ultron in it. So today we're going to be taking a look at some of the counters that I have been using without Ultron, and I do have them in there as well on one of the teams. But other than that, guys, hopefully you guys will find some of these counters useful, and hopefully some healthy alternatives for your war battles.
Alright, so keep in mind here, our first team we're going up against here is got a pretty low Strife and Emma Frost. But again, if you can keep those teams low, you can actually punch either across or a little bit punch down a bit, and essentially it's kind of serves as a very similar team to the PA-Trons. And obviously we've got Iron Man there instead of Ultron, and nonetheless still works out great. Like I said already, it helps that the Strife is actually mid level, and he doesn't really have much red stars either, so we can kind of get most of our buffs off on him. And actually we could probably ability block him as well, because there's no immunity, and then it'd just be straightforward hits. And our key here is taking him out early, so that way he doesn't interfere with when we try to target Mr. Sinister. So we're gonna use the buffs there, and this is where we unleash the pain. And then we'll do Falcons, and there you guys have it. So just even after that, I imagine if your power armor team is significantly higher than the Marauders, you should be able to punch down as well. And like I said, I don't have any ISO 8s on these guys, but they would be more effective if you do have some ISO 8s. And from that point on, it's just an easy 1, 2, 3. We can just go after Emma Frost last. And she's pretty much, I mean, she wasn't super weak, but also not that super strong either. She's doesn't look like this particular player had leveled her up just yet. So there you guys have it there. Punched down a little bit there, but nonetheless, still an effective counter if you guys have a pretty beefy power armor team. And we'll just take a quick look at the stats after, so you guys can see they're just punching down a little bit, but pretty effective otherwise. But yeah, we'll jump into another one here, and it'll be a similar team again, except this time instead of punching down, we'll punch up, and in place of Iron Man we'll have Ultron. So quite a massive punch up, almost pretty much like close to 150,000 punch up. And as you guys will see there too, pretty big Strife, pretty big Emma Frost. We can go over the character stats after this, but yeah, it's a pretty big team. And definitely for sure you want Falcon, and you definitely want War Machine to be a little bit more leveled up for these guys. Pretty big punch up regardless, but they're a very effective counter. This one, you can tell here, there's a lot more immunity going on, so this Emma Frost is a lot more leveled up, but that gives us an advantage because Falcon speeds up more with more buffs, so that's good for us. And once it gets to Rescues and Ironheart's turn, it'll really shine with their specials. So unfortunately, they did clone War Machine, which did a bit of damage, but didn't kill anybody off that we need. And again, we'll activate Ironheart's ultimate there. And now that we got the offense up, we can just blow apart everything. And same with Falcon, we're going to use his ult as well, and his ult gets more effective with each buff on the characters. So with Ultron, this is where it's important. We actually want to strip the taunt off, and then we want to go for the weakened Mr. Sinister. So that's really important there, pal. Once Sinister's ult, this becomes a easy peasy game. Doesn't matter how big that Strife is. If Mr. Sinister is not there, this makes it a pretty easy game once you can get rid of that. Unfortunately, if the Strife is big enough and he resists the taunt removals, that's where you can get into more of an issue, and you might have to go through the Strife. But again, like I said, making sure everybody's leveled up. I don't have any proper ISO 8s either, so again, I'm at a pretty big disadvantage here compared to some of these guys, but that's okay. We still managed to do okay here by getting through the taunts, and then we basically once you get through the taunt, I mean, there's a couple things you can do. You can either just focus on Sinister, or you can focus on the scraps like Sabertooth, or you can go right for Strife and finish him off first. But in this case, I'm slowing him down and kind of reducing his turn meter with Ultron. Ultron really is the best counter, to be honest with you guys. Probably the only one that I can feel 100% for sure. Sometimes even if you're using like a power armor team without Ultron, can still be a bit iffy. But like I said, if I'm ever going in there with a PA team, I'm making sure that I'm punching down, and I'm making sure that at least if you're going up a weak Strife or a weak Emma Frost, then your chances of winning is significantly higher. So we'll take the taunt off again, which works for us. Reduce the speed meter there. Whoops, sorry. Get some messages there during the recording here, as you guys saw. And we'll, again, Falcon plays such an important role because he just rips the taunts off, and he also gives, or excuse me, he doesn't rip the taunts. He gives the speed up, excuse me, from the buffs, and then he also basically just gets Ultron moving faster than he already is. Those two, I think, are definitely the key pieces you want for this particular team. And yeah, we'll just ult again. That should take out Mystique. And as you guys will see there, we'll do one more special. And it's basically a rinse and repeat. Yeah, as you guys will see there. Strife is so beefy, so I'm just, even right now, as you guys can see, just down to pretty much Ultron and the last two remnants, and really, like, it's taking us a ton of hits to get through him. So that's why having a Strife is pretty much, if you're having a big Sinister and a big Emma Frost, you gotta have a big Strife if you're defending. And for those guys that aren't using the big Strifes, then that's kind of where we take advantage of that weakness, and you can use lower powered teams to take it out, take out the Strife, you know. Yeah. So there we go. We'll speed up again there, and I mean, probably at this point I can probably hit the auto, but yeah, we got 44 seconds here, so we probably we're not gonna take our chances. We're gonna go right for her and make sure we're paying attention here. And my goodness, what a tanky monster she is, especially when she goes into her diamond form. She's unfortunately, because I am lowering her speed, it means when she doesn't take her turn, she basically stays in her diamond form longer. But that doesn't matter. Oh yeah, this is gonna come right down to the wire. 13, 12, 11. Oh, 12 seconds left. So as you guys saw there, pretty close, but nonetheless, we got a pretty nice punch up there. And now we'll just have a quick peek at the war history. And you guys can see it was a pretty nice punch, and yeah, about 150,000 punch up. So pretty nice. And then we did get a few survivors as well in that, so that's really nice for us.
All right, so moving forward, we got another one here, and this is actually another popular one that people have been using. And I do have to admit that my X-Force team isn't super high right now, but I do see that we have an opportunity here. We've got a low Strife, not that crazy high of Mr. Sinister as well here, and usually with this particular team, I like to punch across, or if you can, have a little bit of a stronger X-Force team than the Marauders. And the key here is obviously if the Strife isn't that high, so it's about, I think Strife's 40,000. The important skill here is using the ultimate first with Negasonic, and this will basically blow off all the defense ups, and that's where you want to hire Negasonic, so that way she can do that, more focus, more, you know, that way you can guarantee that removal. And then you want to disrupt and get rid of Strife, so that way he can't taunt. And basically from that point on, it's a pretty smooth process. Basically you want to focus on getting rid of Strife first. Obviously this might be an issue with some of the bigger teams, but a lot of our clan mates, they've got bigger X-Force teams, and yeah, they usually like to punch down a little bit just to make sure, because with that Strife and the ISO 8 barriers, or the heals, he just becomes a monster to deal with. So definitely for sure, you want to make sure you're not going too high against a super overpowered Strife. Like this particular team won't work if the Strife's like 70 or 80k, especially because my X-Force team, I gotta admit, is definitely one of my weaker teams, and I'm trying to level them up now just because I've seen how effective they can be against the mercenary teams, and they've been actually quite good against the Coulson teams as well. So that's why I'm trying to level them up a bit, and particularly try to focus on getting Domino and Negasonic up there, because again, the disrupt and the defense up removal is very, very key in terms of trying to destroy this team, especially if you're trying to use an X-Force team. But yeah, this is actually one of the best teams I believe right now, outside of if you're using teams with Ultron. This is definitely one that's it's very, very effective, just because we got lots of utility ability blocks. Deadpool is nice because he can, if you T4 his last ability, he also gets health back with all the negatives. We got Cable there to slow everybody down, bring the speed bar down, buff removal, and then X-23, she's got the ability to block and she can bypass the taunts. So there you guys have it there. So pretty easy peasy there. And again, for this one, I actually punched up a little bit, so that wasn't too bad. But usually with this particular team, if I see one that's kind of in that 200 range, I can usually I go in there pretty comfortable, and ability block and defense up, remove and disrupt the Strife, and then it's pretty much coasting clear from there. So yeah, so make sure you guys level this one up. This one's definitely one of my faves.
Next team is another one of my favorites, and again, we have a situation here where there's actually a pretty weak Strife and a pretty weak Emma Frost, so that gives us a huge advantage in the sense that we can punch across. Usually, even with this one, I would punch down a bit if I can, but we are going to punch across in this one, and we do actually come out with a win on top as well. So luckily, we do have a pretty weak Strife and a pretty weak Emma Frost, and that's what makes it work. So making sure you guys can take advantage of a weakened or a low powered Strife compared to everybody else, that gives us a huge advantage there. So as you guys will see there, we can get a couple hits in there. Yeah, he's got the deflect, but it's not going to be too much of an issue. Namor does his thing, rips apart the buffs, and then that's pretty much all she wrote. I mean, we'll go for Strife because he's low, and he's going to taunt anyways, even if we focus on Mr. Sinister. So we'll just go right for him. And yeah, they can do whatever they want there, but Strife's pretty much dead. Of course, Mr. Sinister clones. Yeah, and then of course the thing just dies. That's fine. And then from that point on, unlike the last battle we had there, where the Strife was almost taking everybody's hits, and I mean, obviously the Fantastic Four does have quite a bit more, I would say they had more DPS than my Power Armor crew, but with the addition of Ultron, that obviously makes it a difference. But nonetheless, I'd still say, you know, both are solid teams. And you can also do Fantastic Four Ultron as well. That's also a team that I've seen. You can take out either you can take out the Thing, or you can take out, I've seen combos where they take, you know, sometimes they just take out who their weakest link is. But yeah, personally for me, I mean, you can probably get away with Mr. Fantastic or taking away Pyro as well. Just depends on who you have level up. Pyro is really good because he just does a ton of AoE damage, and he also gives the offense up, so I'd leave him on the team. Usually I'd probably swap out the Thing or Mr. Fantastic. Obviously you have to have Namor, and you have to keep Invisible Woman in there as well. So, and yeah, and then pretty much going for everybody else and leaving Emma Frost last is the typical style there. And I mean, this Emma Frost actually isn't super weak. She's actually pretty high leveled, but unfortunately, you know, low stars, and she's also by herself, so that gives us the big advantage. And I mean, probably still take us a little bit, just because of the fact that when she's in her diamond form, she has a ton of resistance and a ton of like the heals come in, the damage reduction, like it's just everything. So Hopefully we don't lose. That would suck, but obviously it's like literally it's like you know, 3-on-1. And once she gets off her diamond form, that's where we would have that advantage. But unfortunately right now, as you guys can see, she's kind of kicking her butts. Luckily for us, she did focus on Invisible Woman. So just keep hitting him. We get a stun off, sweet. And then hopefully thing will do his thing. And clobber her face. Right, and yeah, pretty much. I mean, I could probably auto at this point, but yeah, we won't risk it. So there you guys have it there. So Fantastic Four. You can, like I said, you can sub in Ultron in place of one of the weaker ones, but you definitely want Invisible Woman, and you want Namor in that mix there. And we got lucky there because the Strife and the Mr. Sinister was severely weaker than in comparison with Emma Frost, and that gave us a little bit of an edge there. So luckily for us, we were able to take advantage of that. And with that, guys, we will jump into our last team here. And they are red hot. They are the symbiotes, and actually we're actually punching down quite a bit, but we're going up a pretty hefty, I'd say a pretty hefty Marauders team as well. And the only reason why I'm that confident in the symbiotes against these guys is the fact that we're punching down quite a bit lower, and they're actually able to sustain the hits and at least take the damage since they've got the lifesteal. And that's kind of one of the main reasons. I've tried punching down with a lot of other teams like Avengers. I've tried Min Guardians. I've tried lots of other different combinations, and really the only one that really works and survives is these guys. And even if you're punching down, I mean, obviously it's not an effective strategy like the Ultron power armor or the Fantastic Four, but it's definitely an alternative if you've used up and depleted your other teams, and you know, you're up against a Marauders team, and it's a brick wall and you guys can't get through it. Well, you guys will have these guys. Unfortunately, the best course of action is just trying to make sure you focus everything on Strife, as you guys saw there, and essentially we want to take care of Strife first because he's the big wall. And unfortunately for this team, they don't have too much buff removal, so that's kind of where it does fall kind of short if you're using it against this team. And then the blinds and everything obviously hurt as well, so obviously saving Anti-Venom's revive is key as well. I've used this team quite a few times, and usually I feel pretty comfortable if they're punching down 70 to at least 100k. Like I said, the more the better, just because with the Marauders they will take a pretty good beating. And luckily for us, once you start getting 1 or 2 kills and you start feeding the speed off to the symbiotes, it just starts zipping. So that's what you want. But first and foremost, obviously, trying to get rid of Strife and making sure he's down first. And the other problem too is obviously with Emma Frost's immunity, it really, kind of hurts this team's efficiency. But once you get through the buffs and you get Venom ripping the positives, and you've got if you've got some good ISO 8s on these guys and they can rip the positives, it works out just fine. So you just got to be patient, and just it's almost like when you're playing up against Asgardians as well. The first couple of rounds might just be a little bit rough, where they're just taking a little bit of a beating, but once they get through either Strife or Sif and they get the chains going, then it's a pretty easy counter after that. So this is one that I've seen a few people use, and I wasn't 100% sure on it, but then after I used it a few times, yeah, they're pretty good. My particular team you can even use these guys to punch down on Black Order as well, about 100 to 150k as well, depending on the Black Order team and depending on how big their co-obsidian is. But it's the same sort of strategy, and once you start getting some kills coming in through, then basically they really get going. So as you guys see there, Yeah, we started a bit rough there on the patches, but once you rip through Strife and you get rid of him and the clones, and then Sinister, becomes pretty straightforward. And even right now, like, we're punching down quite a bit, but as you guys can see here, because we are up against such a beefy Marauders team, that's one of the reasons why you gotta go heavy on these guys, just because you can't underestimate them. The moment you do, that's when you start getting yourself into trouble. So yeah, so let me know what you guys think. But essentially, these are some of the counters that I've been using against the Marauders, and so far it's been effective. Having at least a couple counters that you can utilize is better than just your one option, or you've only got one shot using your PA-Tron or your X-Men Ultron or your F4 Ultron, but trying to be smart with your counters as well. So as you guys see there, quite a bit of a punch down, but nonetheless, we got the job done. So hopefully you guys found this effective, and hopefully you guys found this resourceful. Thanks guys, and we will catch you in the next one.